Dr. Celine Martinez stood on the observation deck high above Launch Complex 42. The hum of life support systems and the distant roar of cooling rockets, a constant backdrop to her thoughts. Below her, the Odyssey, a sleek silver monolith of lithe. Humanity's last hope loomed like a cathedral in twilight. Its polished hull reflected the dying light of Earth's sun, now dimmed by layers of choking smog. Across the globe, nations had crumbled under relentless climate collapse and resource. Wars, leaving behind shattered cities and broken alliances. Only here, in the final stronghold on the Mojave's scorched plateau, had humanity managed to marshal the remnants of its ingenuity into one final gambit. A cold breeze engineered inside the biodome ruffled Celine's hair. She inhaled deliberately, tasting the faint tang of recycled air. By design, the Odyssey would carry all that remained of Earth's genetic library. Seeds for every known crop, tissue cultures of endangered animals, databases of human history, art, and music. But data alone would not restore a world. It would take people. And yet, for all the billions who once inhabited the planet, only a single vessel had been built, one ship, to bear them to whichever distant star might still offer sanctuary. At her side, Chief Engineer Aiko Tanaka swiped through diagnostic readouts on her holo tablet. "Structural integrity checks are nominal," she reported, voice steady, though her fingers trembled slightly. "Thermal shielding at 57,000 degrees per second is within tolerance. Slipstream stabilizers ready. Estimated transit time to Kepler 442b, 18 months. Celine nodded. Each figure was a small triumph against almost insoluble odds. "Thank you, Aiko. How are the life support reserves looking?" "Food and water synthesis is at 84% of projected consumption. Oxygen recycling. Systems fully calibrated. We've rationed the diet to include nutrient-dense algae, cultured proteins, and engineered vitamin supplements. Morale packs, classic films, music, literature are cued for personal downtime." Aiko's practiced veneer of confidence hid the toll this mission exacted on everyone involved. Celine recalled the final vote in the United Earth Council, when the inevitable question was posed, who goes? The chamber fell silent. With no time or resources to build a fleet, a lottery was drawn. 10,000 names, whittled down by skill, and most painful of all by familial ties to those who had died in the final great famines. Only 100 souls, selected for their expertise and genetic diversity, would board the Odyssey. So few, it seemed absurd to call it a lifeboat. It was more like a single plank cast to a person drowning in an ocean. "Launch window in 10 minutes, Aiko added. Celine's gaze drifted to the horizon, where the sky burned pink and orange. Beyond the launch pad, survivors, those not chosen, those left behind, stood in silent vigil. Through high-definition feeds, she could see faces lined with grief, eyes shining with a poignant blend of hope and resignation. Some held children in trembling arms, others grasped banners scrawled with words like, "Remember us and carry our song." Through the dust haze, their silhouettes seemed less like spectators and more like ghosts urging the Odyssey into the heavens. A chime sounded, the automated boarding call. At the gantry entrance, a line of gray-suited pilots, engineers, biologists, and historians, each carrying a single duffel bag assembled with rigid composure. Among them was Commander Riker Janssen, his broad shoulders squared beneath the flight harness. He was a veteran of conflicts nobody outside military archives remembered. Skirmishes over dwindling river deltas, last stands at collapsing dams. He had fought to keep a semblance of order on a dying planet. Now he would take command of the Odyssey. On its journey beyond, Celine pushed off from the railing and moved to the service elevator. Her heart hammered against her ribs as the car descended, the world-shaking roar of the ship's engines already echoing through the complex. In the service corridor, technicians in stained coveralls and biohazard masks hurried to final checkpoint sealing bulkheads, calibrating sensors, uploading consciousness backups. Every one of them knew they would never leave Earth. Their sacrifice ensured that a tiny flicker of humanity would survive. Guilt and pride warred within Seleni's chest dot at the airlock entrance. Aiko paused to clasp her shoulder. "You did everything you could," she said quietly. "We all did." Selene managed a thin smile. "We did what we had to." She stepped aside as Aiko returned to the maintenance bay to oversee final system overrides. Commander Jansen and Selene entered the airlock in tandem, greeted by the low hum of environmental controls. The hatch behind them sealed with an audible click. The air pressure began to equalize, and the inner doors to the Odyssey slid open, revealing the ships. Spacious promenade bathed in soft, bioluminescent lighting. Pods of first-generation crops glowed in transparent pylons. Walls displayed holographic renderings of Earth's greatest wonders, coral reefs. Amazon rains, the auroras over Iceland images meant to remind every passenger of what they carried in their souls. "Welcome aboard," Jansen said, his voice steady. "Let's make history." Inside the central atrium, Selene passed by clusters of her fellow scientists and engineers, exchanging tense greetings. A child, no more than 8, peered curiously at the holographic reef, holding a plush toy of a dolphin. The girl's father, a botanist, knelt beside her. "This is for you," he said, eyes misting. "One day." The child reached out, fingertips brushing virtual coral, and giggled a sound so rare these days that Selene felt her throat constrict. At the heart of the ship was the command deck, a circular nerve center of transparent screens and floating data nodes. Jansen took the captain's chair. Selene slid into the science station, fingers flying over controls that charted their trajectory, monitored cosmic radiation, and maintained the slipstream drive. She felt the engines rumble beneath her feet, each vibration a promise of escape and a threat of violent failure. "Slipstream ignition in T-minus 60 seconds, announced the AI interfacing system, a calm, genderless voice that had guided them through simulations now carried the weight of reality. Selene steadied her breath, hands hovering over the launch override. Outside the viewports, the night sky shimmered with distant stars obscured by Earth's veil of dust. Here, at the edge of everything they had known, hope and fear intertwined like the strands of DNA in the gene banks they carried. T-minus 10, 9. The countdown droned, echoing in Selene's mind like a heartbeat. She closed her eyes for a moment, recalling her mother's lullabies, the laughter of children playing in rain-soaked streets, the green of forests she had hiked. As a child, all those memories transferred into the ship's archives, data points in a cold logic scheme. But Selene knew memories were more than data. They were sparks of life. 3, 2, 1. Ignition. The slipstream engines flared to life, unfolding space itself as ribbons of light streaked past the viewports. A soundless roar carried them upward, the ground falling away until nothing but the pale blue orb of Earth remained below, a fragile gem vanishing into the infinite dot as the Odyssey surged beyond the pull of gravity. Selene opened her eyes. In the vast darkness, she found clarity. No matter how small this vessel, no matter the loneliness of the path ahead, its mission was everything. One ship, one chance, carrying the fire of humanity into the unknown. And as Earth's last ember receded into the void, Dr. Selene Martinez whispered to the silent dark, "We will endure." The relentless hum of Odyssey's slipstream drive was both lullaby and warning, a constant reminder that every moment carried them further from Earth and deeper into the unknown. Commander Riker Janssen rose from the command chair, shoulders stiff from hours of monitoring the navigational arrays, and made his way down the narrow corridor toward the observation pavilion. The pavilion's broad viewport curved overhead, framing the velvet expanse of interstellar space. Stars, once uncountable in Earth's light-polluted skies, now burst forth in crystalline clarity. Among them, the hazy band of the Milky Way shimmered like a distant promise. Janssen pressed a gloved hand to the cool glass, imagining those same stars had guided Earth's ancient mariners across oceans. Now they guided humanity's final vessel. Dr. Celine Martinez joined him, carrying 2 steaming mugs of synthesized coffee, an aroma faintly reminiscent of her favorite cafe back home, before the air became too foul to venture outside. Handed him one, and they stood in companionable silence, savoring warmth and starlight. "Slipstream stable?" she asked, nodding toward the drive chamber bulkhead. Janssen took a sip and let it linger. "Stable enough. We're on course to enter sublight, cruising in another 20 hours. If all goes well, we'll emerge from slipspace just beyond the outer reaches of the Delta Trianguli system." Celine traced a finger over the viewport's condensation from the other side. It looked like distant nebulae painted and frosted. Patterns. Then it'll be 6 months of surveying jump points and scanning for hazards before we make the final jump to Kepler 442b. 18 months total. Feels surreal. He nodded, quiet for a moment. Surreal, yes, but necessary. We can't afford surprises. No hidden gravity wells, no rogue asteroid belts. He glanced at her with a wry smile. After all that Earth put us through, I'd rather not be ambushed by space debris. Celine chuckled softly, but her eyes betrayed a deeper tension. "I've been analyzing the slipstream readings. There's something unusual." Janssen raised an eyebrow. "Unusual how?" "In the last 3 slipstream corridors, the residual energy patterns don't match anything in our star charts. They don't correspond to pulsar emissions, nor to known warp signature anomalies. It's as if the fabric of space itself vibrated." He folded his arms. "Vibrations? Like a ripple?" "Exactly." Celine tapped her datapad, projecting spectral graphs into the air between them. Sine waves in overlapping colors undulated across the hologram. "See here, the energy amplitude spikes, then fades, then spikes again. And each time it spikes, our sensors pick up a faint electromagnetic pulse in all directions." Janssen leaned in, studying the charts. "Fascinating. Could be microquasar activity, tiny uncharted black hole jets. But the uniformity, spatially, isotropic pulses? That suggests a source equidistant from every axis." Celine nodded. "Which is impossible unless the source is everywhere." He sighed, setting down his mug. "Unsettling. Let's assign a sensor sweep for a full spectrographic analysis. Have ICO run diagnostics on the pulse wavelengths and cross-reference with the bioluminescent drive output." "Already on it," Celine said. "And the AI is compiling a report for you." Janssen straightened, offering a hand to her. "We'll figure it out. For now, let's see if we can get some rest." She accepted, and they left the pavilion side by side. The first voice Odysseys corridors were hushed, lit by bioluminescent panels that pulsed in gentle blues and greens. Most of the ship's civilians, biologists, historians, artists slept. In their quarters, cocooned in cryogenic chambers that cycled sleep-inducing sedatives. A few volunteers remained awake to monitor life support shifts and automated systems. In a dimly lit junction near the engineering bay, communications officer Lieutenant Kara Singh paused to review the day's transmissions. She decoded status pings, weeded out cosmic background noise, and ensured the external arrays were locked on predetermined scan corridors. At 0214 ship time, her console flashed, an incoming signal, not from known star beacons nor from Earth's tracking satellites. A series of low-frequency pulses patterned, deliberate. Kara's heartbeat quickened. She isolated the channels, enhancing the signal. "Commander," she whispered into her comm, "you should see this." Moments later, Janssen and Celine materialized at her station. The waveform danced across the holoscreen in near-perfect symmetry. Pulses 5 seconds apart, each lasting 1/2 second. Kara had looped the sound through the ship's speakers. It was a haunting, hypnotic thrum that resonated through the steel floors. Celine's eyes widened. "Do you hear it?" "It's exactly the vibration I sensed in the slipstream data." Janssen frowned. He tapped controls to magnify the waveform's shape. "What's its frequency?" 21 megahertz, Kara reported. "But there's a harmonic series, 42, 84, 168. It's like music." Silence enveloped them as they listened to the pulse's steady, unblinking, patient. Then, through the static, a voice spoke. Smooth, disembodied, neither male nor female, its resonance echoing in the corridor's metal ribs. "Why did you send only one?" Janssen's jaw tightened. "We did not request communication." The voice repeated, clearer this time. "Your kind, so fragile. One arc, one flotsam. Why?" Celine felt a chill crawl up her spine. She exchanged a glance with Janssen. "This is not on the manifest. How are you receiving this?" He asked Kara. "Directly on all channels," she said, eyes wide. "Internal and external. Even the AI core is picking it up." Janssen reached out to silence the speaker, but Celine placed a hand on his arm. "Wait." Through the static, the question hung in the air. "Why did you send only one?" A conversation across void over the next hours. Odyssey's crew attempted to trace the origin of the pulses. Every sensor sweep returned null results. No star system emitted such signals. No nearby nebula correlated. No known phenomenon matched. And yet the voice persisted, resonant and insistent, quizzing them on their solitary voyage. In the mess hall, where replicators hummed and the aroma of synthesized stew filled the air, the crew gathered in hushed clusters. Scientists speculated. Unnatural phenomena. Engineers argued for malfunctioning equipment. Historians whispered of old Earth myths. Voices in the void, the cosmic equivalent of oceanic sirens calling to sailors. At midnight, Janssen convened an impromptu council in a conference module. Celine, Kara, Aiko, and 2 more specialists joined him around a holographic table projecting their star map. "We have 3 hypotheses," Janssen began, voice firm. "First, the signal is a natural, but heretofore unknown, cosmic phenomenon. Second, it's an emergent effect of the slipstream drive. Third, it's intelligent and it's addressing us." Aiko shook her head. "Slipstream feedback should appear only within the corridors we travel, not throughout the entire ship. And if it were natural, why would it frame its pulses as a question?" Kara leaned forward. "I've isolated semantic patterns. The waveforms. Harmonics align with basic mathematical constructs, prime sequences, the Fibonacci series. That suggests intelligence trying to communicate." Celine's fingers flicked through the holograms. "I agree. And why question our single ship mission? There's a moral dimension here. Whoever or whatever is out there, they know our history." Janssen's gaze hardened. "Our history, yes. They've been listening. So, do we answer? And if so, how?" Silence met him. The weight of the galaxy pressed in on the small gathering. Finally, Celine spoke softly. "We tell the truth. We had no choice." Aiko frowned, uncertain. "Admitting vulnerability could be dangerous, put us at risk." "Or," Celine countered, "it could build trust. If these voices belong to a network of observers, ancient travelers, who guard the stars, they may respect honesty." Janssen nodded. "All right. Kara, establish a stable frequency loop, and broadcast a simple response. This is humanity's last ship. We had resources for only one arc. Our hope is to survive, no embellishment. Kara's fingers danced. Over her console, message queued. Commit it, Janssen ordered. The galaxy's response. They waited in the conference module, eyes fixed on the remaining slipstream readings. After 36 long minutes, the answer came not as words, but as a cascade of multicolored luminescent streaks flickering across the viewport above them. The corridor outside blazed with iridescent motes that coalesced into patterns, fractals echoing the ship's bioluminescent lights, then dispersing like cosmic fireflies. A soft chorus, layered and harmonious, filled the room. Fragility is not weakness. One light can guide the way. Hope drawn from necessity burns more brightly than expectation. We have watched many arcs launch, some in fleets, some alone. Each carries its verse in the cosmic song. Celine felt tears sting her eyes. Aiko placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. Kara blinked rapidly, trying to process the oral cascade. Even Jansen's stoic facade cracked into a rare smile. "Understood?" he asked. Celine nodded, voice trembling. "Understood." "Then let us keep our light burning," Jansen said resolutely. "One arc or 1,000-hour purpose remains. To carry humanity's spirit into the next dawn." As the motes faded into the starfield, Odyssey resumed its silent glide through the void. But now, the ship carried more than dormant seeds and archived memories. It carried a whispered covenant with the galaxy itself, an unspoken promise that even the smallest spark of life would not go unnoticed. And somewhere in that vast darkness, humanity had found its first true echo. Days had passed since the first exchange, but Odyssey's corridors still thrummed with a new undercurrent of anticipation. The crew moved through their routines with heightened awareness eyes flicking to readouts, ears tuned for any hint of the ethereal chorus. In the hydroponics bay, Dr. Celine Martinez tended to the experimental biodomes with meticulous care, her thoughts adrift among possibilities. If the galaxy itself could speak, what stories lived beyond her star charts? What civilizations had risen and fallen, and what remained of their legacies? She paused over a cluster of frost-resistant wheat, its slender stalks swaying ever so slightly in the artificial breeze. The pulse of unseen energy still lingered in her skin, a subtle vibration echoing the harmonics they had recorded. Leaning forward, she placed her palm against the transparent cylinder, willing it to resonate with the quiet hum of the living grain. "Do you feel that?" came a soft voice behind her, Lieutenant Kara Singh, still marveling at the ongoing mystery. Kara had spent every waking moment decoding the galaxy's signals, tracing the patterns of light and sound that had become their unlikely dialogue. Celine exhaled, straightening. "A ripple. I think it's the same resonance we've seen in the slipstream corridors." She tapped her wrist console, overlaying spectral diagrams onto the dome's surface. "It's as if the ship itself, the organic and the mechanical, has become part of a living network." Kara's eyes shone with excitement. "Imagine a lattice of observers, each node an arc or a sentinel, all exchanging data across the void. We're not just voyagers. We're participants in something vast and ancient." Celine smiled wearily. "Participants? Yes, but we must be cautious. Knowledge without context can be dangerous." Kara nodded, her gaze drifting to the viewport, where distant nebulae swirled like suspended storms. "Still, to know we're not alone, that someone cares enough to question us, gives me hope. Secrets in the AIs, core below decks in the ship's computational heart. Odyssey's A Artemis was humming through trillions of data points. Chief Engineer Aiko Tanaka had authorized expanded access to the signal archive, allowing Artemis to cross-reference the galaxy's harmonic sequences with every known physical constant, every mythological motif in the human library, and every bioluminescent pattern the ship had ever emitted. Aiko watched the progress meter on her holodisplay. "We're converging on a match," she announced to Dr. Marcus Lee, the ship's xenolinguist. Marcus peered over her shoulder as Artemis highlighted correlations between their signals and a series of waveforms cataloged in the ancient Procyon archives legends of the ever-talking stars, where wandering minds left echoes imprinted. In the substrate of space, Marcus let out a low whistle. "If that's true, we're touching on archaic transmissions millennia old, preserved in the cosmic background." He tapped a sequence that assembled a rough translation. "To you, who sail the last ember, know that every arc matters. Our voices are woven in the ceaseless tapestry. We meet once every cycle." Aiko's brow furrowed. "Once every cycle. What cycle? Orbital, temporal, life? We need context." Artemis suggests a connection to local gravitational wave patterns, pulses, that align with certain binary star orbits, Marcus said, voice trembling. "If so, the galaxy's choir harmonizes on celestial rhythms. They speak in the music of spheres." Aiko and Marcus exchanged a look both exhilarated and unnerved. On Odyssey, they were accustomed to tackling the unknown, but this was different. They had stumbled upon not just alien intelligence, but a civilization less coarse, stretching across cosmic time. A call beyond words. That evening, the crew gathered in the central observatory for a collective listening session. Janssen stood before the panoramic dome, flanked by Celine, Kara, Aiko, and Marcus. Hollow projectors displayed live readings of the harmonic signals, while the speakers reverberated with the gentle, melodic pulses. "Tonight," Janssen announced, "we open ourselves fully heart, mind, and sensor arrays. We will ask a question of our own." He activated a simple broadcast. "In your light, we find courage. Will you guide us to safe passage?" For a moment, it was only static. The only sound was the low hum of life support and the distant whisper of recycled air. Then, like the first drops of a coming rain, the response began soft at first, then building into an intricate web of notes that danced across the dome in filaments of luminescence. No words this time, only pure tone-arching scales rising and falling recursive motifs folding into one another. It felt less like language and more like emotion distilled into sound. Welcome, curiosity, empathy. Celine closed her eyes, letting the harmonies wash over her. Each chord seemed to echo in the marrow of her bones. She saw visions, fleeting snapshots of crystalline citadels orbiting dying suns, of travelers hitching rides on comets, of lattice of light encoding and decoding memories in the cosmic weave. The final cadence faded into silence. Janssen spoke, voice hushed. "They're showing us something." Marcus illuminated a sequence on the holodable, a star map, luminous threads connecting Odyssey's current trajectory to a network of waypoints, beacons. Artemis called them where the harmonic signals intensified. "These are markers," Celine whispered, "signposts left by others." Aiko shook her head in wonder. "They're mapping a safe path through slipspace hazards, radiation fields, gravitational anomalies." Every arc that traveled this way added its resonance to the network. Kara's hand hovered over the console. "And now they include us." Janssen turned to the assembled crew. "Set a new course. We'll follow the beacons as they light our path. But we'll go with eyes open, charting our own course within the tapestry, adding our voice to the song, weaving humanity's note in." The days that followed, Odyssey altered its trajectory, gliding from one luminous waypoint to the next. At each node, Artemis recorded the harmonic signature and layered it onto the ship's drive core, enriching their own resonance. Sensors detected remnants of previous travelers' microscopic deposits of bioluminescent algae, fragments of crystalline data crystals, echoes of whispered code inscribed in the slipstream currents. Dr. Celine Martinez led an initiative to create Humanity's verse, a short harmonic sequence derived from the genetic code's mathematical patterns, the rhythms of rainstorms on Earth, the first notes of Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. They wove it into Odyssey's dry signature, a gift to the galaxy's choir dot at the final waypoint before the Kepler jump point. Commander Janssen convened the crew in the observatory one last time. The mapped stars stretched before them, the jump gate glowing faintly in the field of resonant energy. "Whatever waits beyond that gate," he said, voice firm with resolve, "we go as more than survivors. We go as contributors to a living network of minds, carrying our failures and triumphs, our frailties and our hopes. We are not alone." Celine placed a hand on the console, feeling the hum of their newly woven resonance. "We're part of the song now." As Odyssey prepared to leap into Kepler 442b's system, the harmonic chorus swelled voices from 1,000 arcs, 1,000,000 journeys, united in a single moment of welcome. And in that convergence of light and sound, humanity found its place among the stars. Touchdown on a new world. The moment the slipstream drive disengaged, Odyssey shuddered as though exhaling after a long, silent journey. Commander Riker Janssen gripped the arms of his chair, eyes fixed on the viewports as Kepler 442b's twin suns bathed the ship's hull in warm amber light. Below them, rolling plains of violet-hued grasses rippled beneath pale teal skies, and distant mountains carved jagged silhouettes against the horizon. "All systems green," reported Chief Engineer Aiko Tanaka, her voice tight with exhilaration. "Atmospheric analysis confirms breathable air oxygen levels at 65% of Earth's standard safe pressure. GPS markers indicate 2 major landmasses, abundant freshwater sources, and mineral deposits consistent with our database." Dr. Celine Martinez hunched over her science console, cross-referencing environmental scans with colony parameters. Soil pH is slightly alkaline, but nutrient content is high. Local flora appears to share basic photosynthetic pathways likely. Convergent evolution will only need minimal genetic tweaks to support Earth crops. "Let's get her down," Janssen ordered. The ship's gravitic dampers thrummed, and Odyssey descended through clouds that shimmered like fractured emeralds. As the landing struts crunched into the lilac grass, the entire vessel settled with a final sigh. For the first time since departing Earth, the engines went silent. A hush fell over the crew. Then the intercom crackled. "Welcome home, Commander." It was Artemis, their AI, its tone unusually gentle. "You have arrived within the coordinates designated as Haven Point. Celestial harmonics confirm safe proximity to the beacon network." Janssen exhaled, shoulders relaxing. "Thank you, Artemis." "You did well." "Thank you," it replied, "for weaving humanity's verse into the chorus." First steps in shared wonder, the airlock doors opened with a hiss and a blast of crisp, fragrant breeze washed over the crew. Janssen led the advance party onto the soft grass, each member's boots leaving prints in the alien soil. Around them, pollen-like motes drifted on unseen currents, catching the sunlight in tiny rainbows as they danced. Celine inhaled deeply, savoring the electric tang of novelty. "Incredible," she whispered. "It smells like pine and citrus and hope." Beside her, Lieutenant Kara Singh recorded ambient noises, distant bird calls with unfamiliar tonalities, the gentle rustle of grass, and the low hum of planetary wind currents. Each sound was a data point, and a symbol, a testament that life thrived here without human intervention. Janssen gazed across the plain. "Let's get the domes erected. We'll need to establish agricultural zones before nightfall. The temperature drop could be severe." Engineers and botanists dispersed, deploying modular habitats and hydroponic shelters. They set up atmospheric regulators, drilled boreholes for water sampling, and beamed back live feed imagery to the ship's databanks. Within hours, the first greenhouses clad in translucent polymers adapted to filter local UV spectra. With the soft glow of young seedlings, their roots reaching into rich, alien soil. As dusk approached, the dual suns dipped below the horizon, painting the skies in bands of lavender and rose. The crew gathered once more on the plain, wrapped in insulating jackets, watching the day's last light fade into a canopy of unfamiliar constellations. Remarkable, Aiko murmured, tracing patterns of nearby moons and gas giants now visible. Everything we need and more. Celine looked up, feeling the weight of generations on her shoulders. We owe this to the galaxy's chorus. Without their waypoints, we would have drifted blind. At her words, the air shimmered. Tiny lights, like fireflies, coalesced into luminescent arcs above the assembled crew. The harmonic presence they had come to know manifested once more, dancing between the two faint moons of Kepler, 442b. And then the voice soft, layered, resonant spoke in unison. You have arrived as a single spark. Our network is brighter. For your flame. Here, plant your roots, tend your song, and know that every verse enriches the cosmos. Janssen lifted his hand in salute. Thank you. Building upon shared foundations in the weeks that followed, Odyssey burgeoned into a thriving foothold. Domed settlements spread across the plain, linked by transparent tubes through which pressurized air flowed. Under Cellini's supervision, agritech teams crossbred earth crops with native flora, accelerating growth cycles and enhancing nutritional profiles. Rains fell in gentle cycles, captured by engineered reservoirs. Solar towers converted the planets. Dual sunlight into abundant power. At night, the harmonic beacons flickered on hilltops, each one a beacon of shared knowledge. Artemis processed live data, aligning analog signals with the colony's core drive signature, ensuring Odyssey remained an active participant in the galactic network. Culturally, the settlement thrived on stories. Historians and artists formed. An oral archive beneath a grand domed amphitheater, recounting Earth's lost oceans, its ancient myths, and the tragedies that had nearly ended them. In turn, they shared songs, harmonic verses they had crafted from planetary sounds with the galaxy's chorus. One evening, as Cellini performed a ritual she devised, releasing encoded pollen of genetically adapted Earth wildflowers into the breeze, the harmonic presence responded with swirling currents of light that carved luminous glyphs into the sky's dome. The displayed symbols resembled DNA helixes entwined with star patterns, a message of unity between life and cosmos. They're showing us a blueprint, Marcus Lee interpreted, his xenolinguist expertise guiding him. A diagram of coexistence. Cradle the life you bring, but let the world's own pulse guide your hand. Celine nodded, tears glistening. We are guests and stewards, not conquerors. A new chapter in the cosmic song months turned into seasons as the colony solidified. Children born of the original 100 grew up under the violet grasses, learning both Earth languages and harmonic motifs. Fields of engineered wheat swayed beside native orchids. Waterways teemed with introduced fish and evolved local species. In delicate balance, through it all, Odyssey remained their heart, both arc and beacon. Its drive core, now infused with humanity's verse, pulsed in time with the beacon network. Every starlit night, Celine and Janssen would stand on the observation deck, gazing at the radiant web of motes connecting every known waypoint. Do you think Earth's ashes ever saw this? Celine mused one night, voice soft. Janssen placed an arm around her shoulders. They might have heard our signal, riding slipstream currents, waiting for us to arrive. Silence stretched as they watched the cosmic lattice shimmer. Then Artemis's voice, warm with what passed for pride, joined the moment. Your arrival completes another arc. The galaxy's song is richer for your humanity. Celine smiled, resting her head against Janssen's shoulder. We came as one. Ship, she whispered. But we stay as an entire people and a new chapter in a story that has no end. And somewhere, beyond the twin suns and violet fields, the ancient chorus echoed back an endless refrain of light and sound, welcoming humanity's spark into the infinite expanse.